Hi, everybody. It's Stacy Sobel with Salon Today Conversations, and today I'm with Elaine White from Elaine White Spas in Rhode Island. Hi, Elaine. How are you?
I'm great. I'm so happy to be here.
So, a couple of interesting things that we want to talk about today, but you actually live on top of one of your locations.
I do in my Bristol location.
And how does that work for your work-life balance?
Well, now it's pretty fun because there's never anybody here. I have this huge 4,000 square foot historic building all to myself, and I don't quite know what to do. But in the past, when there's actually been people on the first floor, it's been great. I'm never alone. I can go downstairs and talk to clients when I'm not working. If they see my car, they usually say, "Hey, is Elaine around?" And the staff will text me and say, "Mary's in. She wants to say hi," and I'll go downstairs. It's lovely. I've never had a negative experience with it.
That's great. So before all this coronavirus thing started, you launched a private Facebook group. Is it Super Chicks?
Yeah,
Is that what you call it?
Super Chick business owners. Yep.
Super Chick business owners. Why did you feel there was a need for that? And who's on it?
Well, I've been writing actively for 3 years, and not business, but life. I'm a breast cancer survivor twice. So I started writing right when I was diagnosed, and it just took off. People started reading it and responding to it. So then I started posting on other people's Facebook groups that I thought would respond well to the writing. More just to share it, not so much to get a following or anything like that, because that's not super intuitive for me. And I've been doing that for many years now. And all of a sudden, one day it occurred to me, maybe I should do my own Facebook group. I don't know why I never thought of it before. So I created this group because I know a lot of women nationally for the spa business, most definitely, because I've been in the spa world for 35 years or so. And it started with some of the spa owners coming on, and then more people joined who weren't spa owners. Massage therapists, yoga studios, wellness, people who are in organizers, professional organizers. A lot of single women owner businesses, but also companies too. And I wanted to do it because I wanted to get women together to uplift and be part of the party, to feel energized and motivated with each other, as opposed to, here we are, we're going to do a financial plan, or we're going to do how to be a better leader, but just to kind of talk about the reality of it, of business owning as a woman.
So you said sometimes things to get the conversation started is to just propose a word of the day and have people kind of ad lib on that, I guess.
Yeah.
So what have been some of your recent words, and what's transpired out of that?
Well, I think the thing about the Facebook group is when you start a group, everybody's really gung-ho. And then you try to see what's going to stick, because you want people to interact. The whole point of the group is to engage with each other. And so I was starting to see that we were kind of getting like COVIDed out. It was just, it wasn't a downer. We were all uplifting, but I mean, what can you say? Everybody's business is closed. There's no place to go. We can talk about it, but what else are we going to do? So I said, let me just throw a word up there. So the first word was wind. And I actually was wondering if anybody would read it as wind, and nobody did. Everybody read it as wind. So they put really beautiful things down. That was the soft introduction to it. We did frame. I had one today that got a little bit of a negative response. So I took it down because I didn't want to go there. That's not the point of my space at all. And somebody had commented, a person that I love commented that she thought it was going negative. So I just removed the post and I put up, you asked me to have all the words, and I should have written them down. I said frame, wind. I think I don't know. I'm sorry, I can't remember it now.
That's okay.
Yeah, sorry.
So
somebody else took the idea, asked me if they could use it for their site. So there's a survivor group, Gloria Gemma survivor group, and they asked if they could use it. So they're posting it for a lot of the breast cancer thrivers. And I just saw it today, which was fun. So I hope more people do it, because it eases you. It's just to put up that first thing that comes to mind and have nothing connected with it. Just like release some of it to get our juices flowing.
I know a salon and spa in Tucson who actually does a word of the year, and their team rallies behind that word every year. And I think they've done it for like a dozen years now. So it's kind of a nice idea about how to kind of rally people around a single thing. So
Yeah, when I've done team meetings before, I've taken out, like when I've read the Times, I'll read something about an amazing woman. Maybe she's passed away, it was her obituary, or just some cool woman that we never heard of. So I created this big bucket in my house called Super Chicks. And what I do at my team meetings is I pull a pile of them out and I pass them around in a basket, and everybody reads it, and then they go around and talk about what they learned that they didn't know, just to kind of inspire conversation that they might not normally think about.
oh, that's lovely. That's
Yeah,
a
it's fun.
lovely
It's the great thing about owning your own business. You can kind of make it up as you go along.
idea. You go on. So the idea behind developing the Super Chick site is, what is it? What are the specific challenges for female owners, and why did you feel that it was important to have a forum that was?
Hmm. I love that question. I started my business 23 years ago, and I've been in the beauty business, I always say, since my first haircut on Newbury Street in Boston when I was 6 years old. So I feel, although you wouldn't know it now, but back in the day when I used to get hip haircuts, and I worked for Aveda for about 12 years, and I used to wear full makeup, all the stuff that we used to do. And then now I'm 55. And what I have learned in the past 25 years of owning my own company is that women who own businesses come to the workplace and the people who work for them with their whole, they bring everything that's behind them to the table of their business. So if their house isn't organized, if if they don't know what they're going to make for dinner, if they've got laundry left out, if their husband and they just got in a fight, if it's a traditional relationship, if their kids are sick, usually falls on the woman, in my experience. And even today, in this more modern time, I still see it with my employees. They tend to fall in the traditional roles, the ones that are more traditionally married or with a partner. But the ones that are married and have children and have the house and the picket fence idea. And I was really thinking that after a while that would start to dissipate. But it's still true. The men get to go to work, and the women are the ones usually responsible for what goes on in the day. And so I feel like there's a different set of rules and regs when it comes to female-owned business. And the fact is that just because of the nature of our bodies, if we decide we want to have children, it's our bodies, it's our time off that we have to take because the physical requirements demand that. And so even if we have amazing partners who want to do great participation, it still falls on us. So I wanted to get the conversation going and offer the wisdom of hindsight, now that I'm 55 and my son's grown and I'm divorced now, to maybe some of the younger Super Chick women who are on there starting their businesses and are struggling with some of those things that they don't even know is really a thing. They think it's just them and they're not perfect enough. And if they had it all together, then everything would feel way better. But the truth is that there's no such thing as balance. You can't do it all. Something's got to give. I've always said that. But because we don't know that while we're in it, we get to be able to learn it once we're out of it. So the Super Chick group was to kind of have a bunch of different age group people and all share our stuff. And something sticks with one person and doesn't stick with another person, you move on to the next post. And if you want to post. And if you don't, you just want to be a voyeur, that's cool too. There's no pressure, no judgment. It's just happiness and good experiences and uplift.
As you know, I've been in this industry and kind of in this role for 25 years, and I feel there comes a certain amount of freedom and joy of just with age of not caring so much. When you're in, I don't know, when you're in 20s, 30s, you care about what everybody thinks, and then everybody's judging you. And then the older you get, you kind of like, I know what works for me, and I'm going to do it my way. And
Stacy, there is not one year before the year I am today, and I have loved every year, that I would want to be again. except for maybe like when I was 14 and I look at pictures of my body and I thought I was fat and I look at myself, I'm like, oh my God, what a waste of a great body, you know, but that's about it. There's not really much else that I go back and I say, oh, I wish I could do that again. And I think that I'm sorry, there's somebody leaf blowing out there, so it might be noisy. But I think for the greatest part about getting older is that it's kind of like what Brene Brown says, you know, vulnerability is actually an amazing thing. So I've been saying to people, you know, vulnerability is our superpower. As soon as I realized, and I don't think I needed Brene to tell me that, but I think she gave me permission to really affirm it. As soon as I realized that vulnerability was a strength and not a weakness, it really set the floodgates wild for me, because I realized, wow, I can say things and I can feel vulnerable and I can speak my truth in a kind-hearted way. And whatever happens, happens. This is who I am. And I think that's the part that as women, we're getting better at. Maybe it's just because I'm getting older, but I see younger women starting to speak out more. I mean, I'm on a Peloton bike and some of the stuff that these young women say on there, I'm like, wow, I wish I was thinking like that when I was that age. I think they're all about 28 and gorgeous.
Yeah.
And perfect bodies, and they never have anybody my age on there.
Well, good for you for being on there.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love Brene. Have you caught Brene does church now on Sundays for her?
No, that's
Yeah.
great. With
Just
Oprah? She does it with Oprah, did you say?
no, it's like on her Instagram Live. It's just like maybe 15 minutes of just coming together and being together, and so that's what she's been doing.
That is, what is it called? Brene Brown Church?
I think so. I think she calls it church.
Why didn't I think of that? I think I might have to do that. I love that. Elaine White Church. Well, I'll call it synagogue. That's great.
Well, the other interesting thing that we discussed I'm not sure how you revealed it on our phone call, is that you collect typewriters,
Right.
historic typewriters. So I just think that that's fascinating. And maybe it's because I'm an editor and my roots are in publishing. But talk about why that started and what they mean to you.
Well, I was in a consignment store with my aunt about maybe 2 years ago, and there was a typewriter there. It was a big old school Royal. I actually have it behind me. You can kind of see it over my shoulder, I think. Very, you know, if I move this way.
You move.
It's under the orange picture.
Okay.
But it's very heavy, or else I'd cart it over. And I started to type on it in the store, and then it did the ding, and I just had this flood of memory. I couldn't place it. My aunt came over and she said, Elaine, it's because Grandma always had the typewriter in her bedroom, and she typed all the recipes for you when you were 21. She gave you the recipes, and I have them all hand typed. It's amazing when I think about how much time it must have taken her. And she typed all her notes to me because her handwriting was terrible. And I said, I'm going to buy it. So I buy it, I get it home, and I start typing on it, and I realize I'm a terrible typer, and I start typing to it. I name it Dear Old Gal, and I start typing this letter. It turns out to be like 10 pages. It's this whole story. Then I realized nobody's making these anymore. I think I have to save them. So I started buying them like a crazy person. When I get something in my head, I can't stop. So in about, a year and a half's time, I amassed 45 of them. And then now people send me messages, hey, do you want this typewriter? It's hilarious how fast I got known to be like this typewriter person. But the real point is that now what I used to do is I took them to events like state fairs and street fairs and kids school groups, and just to get kids to type, because they don't know what it's like to leave an imprint and actually have the key mark the ink. They can't make sense of that, and there's no delete button. They're like, hey, can I have another piece of paper because I'd made a mistake? I'm like, that's the whole point. You got to leave the mistake. So now unfortunately I can't use them because they're
virus everywhere,
germ factor, depressing. So
but a beautiful thing, and someday you'll be able to get them back out there, and
I hope so.
And
they're so beautiful.
My parents passed away in the last 2 years, and they have 3 print cases, so that's even a step backwards from the typewriter, but the actual individual type,
Wow.
So
Oh,
the
So
lead type, so the drawers are filled with type, and it's cool.
you have to take a picture of that and send it to me.
I will. I will.
You know, I take pictures all the time. I have an Instagram that's called Typewriting is Beauty, because what was happening is I didn't understand Instagram. I mean, I'm like the worst social media person in the world. I'm trying to get better. Now I'm like leaning in. It's crazy. And I was posting typewriters, like pictures of typewriters on my spa page. And one day I was talking to this woman, young girl at a fried chicken place, you know, one of those trendy fried chicken places. And I said to her, can I ask you a question? I said, if you were looking for a facial in Bristol, you know, can you tell me how you would find it? She said, I'd go on Instagram. I said, okay, can you do a Facebook search? Pretend you're going to visit your parents in Bristol. Tell me how you'd find, you know, how would you find me? So she goes on facials in Bristol. I come up and I said, so would you come here? She goes, well, why do you have pictures of typewriters all over your Facebook account? And I thought, oh, okay, so I can't do that. So I had to move it to a separate, so Typewriting is Beauty, because I thought, well, let me make it beautiful anyway. It's beauty, you know. I always try to come up with some marketing strategy to get people to drink the juice.
We used to have when I lived in San Luis Obispo in California, we had a coffee place where they had a typewriter and paper. And you could, and then a wall where you could type up little notes. So everybody would go have their coffee, get serious, type something, post it on the wall.
Yeah, well, I have one in each of the spas. I have the turquoise ones, and people type things all the time. My staff saves it for me, and then I put it in a folder. I have some beautiful notes from people. People have typed to me, or they've typed about the experience. And I always thought I should put that in a book or something. It'd be really cool, but it's in the I will get to it later pile. You know, that's the part. There's so much going on with COVID. I wrote a big list at the beginning of all this, thinking I was going to have these huge accomplishments by the end of 6 weeks, but it's already 8 weeks and I haven't done half. I said I was going to clean the basement. I never did it. Who cares, you know?
Well, owners have told me they've worked harder during the shutdown than they were before. So
I have never worked this hard in my life. Really, this is the hardest I've ever worked. I'm so busy and it's so much fun, but it's also frightening and it can be debilitating at times. Yeah. But when I put my head in the sand, I really enjoy it.
Well, thank you so much for being on today and sharing us with the Super Chick site with us, and also your love of typewriters and how you meld all that together in your interesting personality. So,
well, if anybody wants to join the Super Chick Business Owners Group, they just have to friend me on Elaine White, and I'll invite them in, or they can ask to be invited, and I'll invite them, because the more the merrier. As long as they're business owners and they're into uplift and you know, and positivity and happiness, and they like to hear me talk about typewriting, they're in.
We're in. Thank you, Elaine. I really appreciate it.
Hi, Stacy. Thank you.